Hey there gamers, welcome to a very special, very extra large edition of the Bearded Gamer Show. Of course, I'm your host, the Bearded Gamer. Obviously, that's what the show's named after, Chris Arnone. Now, for this one, I got something very special for you. There's going to be no other bumpers, no other intros. It's going to be a really long, singularly awesome video experience. E3 is underway right now, okay? So I'm filming this on Tuesday night. So all three of the big three press conferences have wrapped up. You got Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. Of course, there was also Ubisoft and EA, but I'm not going to get into those right now. Because really the big question comes down every year. Who won? And we're always looking at those three, the big three, the console manufacturers that have so much invested in the video game industry. Who won between Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, okay? No preference shown there, just the order in which they had their conferences. And we're going to run down it just like that. So first off, we're going to start off with Microsoft's press conference. Theirs was first thing on Monday morning. So let's go down everything they talked about. We're going to talk a little bit about it. And of course, at the end, talk about who I think won E3 just with the press conferences. So first up for Microsoft, they started with the big one, Halo 4. Now, if you were watching this looks awesome. Now the Covenant are there, Master Chief is back, and then they bring in this new race. They're sort of these, artificial race, non-organic, using Forerunner technology, which is super advanced, super powerful, and oh yeah, you can use it because you kill an enemy and then pick up a Forerunner gun. And tell you what, it looks awesome. Brand new enemy types, very challenging. It looks really, really, really cool. And of course, this is the first time that 343 Industries is taking over since Bungie has departed Microsoft. So we're going to see how well 343 can do on their own. But I tell you what, I got a lot of faith. I think it's going to be really, really cool. So next up, they had Splinter Cell Blacklist. Now you're saying, whoa, 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 this is, a multi-platform title. Well, the reason, of course, as often is the case, why you'll see a multi-platform game in someone's specific show, in this case, connected functionality. There's always something extra that this particular console is going to add to it. Now, I'm not a big Splinter Cell fan, never played a lot of them, so I don't have a whole lot of opinion on this, but it did look gritty, it looked pretty brutal, and they're talking a whole lot about some Kinect functionality. You can, for instance, speak to people to distract them. You can actually, like whisper, as though Sam Fisher were actually saying that, and you can shout out some commands and things. So it looks pretty cool. Like I said, not a Splinter Cell fan, hard for me to say much about that. Next up, they showed Gears of War Judgment. Now, we kind of knew this was coming. Obviously, this must be staying exclusive to Microsoft. I'm not 100% sure on what those contracts and negotiations are like between Epic and Microsoft, but obviously this one is staying in-house for Microsoft. And it looks great. Gears 3 was a great way to end that initial trilogy, and it looks like they're moving forward with Gears of War Judgment in a very, very good way. This is one of Microsoft's biggest exclusives, and it looks like it's staying just as big. So next up, once again, one of the few exclusives that they had to show was Forza Horizon. Now we got a little more sort of details about this. Now it's looking sort of like Forza meets Test Drive. Now, granted, Test Drive kind of sucks, admittedly. The last couple have not been good. But when you meld that with the awesomeness that is Forza, it turns into something really cool. It seems that, instead of just being a track-based game, they're taking that awesome physics, the awesome team behind Forza, and applying it to something more sort of Test Drive or Need for Speed-like, where you've got more open roads, some sort of a goal in mind, and I think it looks really cool. And I'm a big racing game fan, a big fan of Forza, and Need for Speed, the good Need for Speeds. I know we don't get very many of them anymore, but I think this is a cool meshing of those kinds of ideas, and so I'm looking forward to this game. I thought that it looked really cool. So next up was Resident Evil 6. Of course, this is a Capcom game. Now they're announcing some timed DLC, okay? So DLC will hit all platforms, but Microsoft Xbox 360 is going to have first dibs if you buy it there. Now, I've talked about Resident Evil 6 before on this show, and it looks amazing. I'm not a huge Resident Evil fan, but the fact that they're getting away from tank controls, it's a powerhouse action game, it looks amazing, okay? This was phenomenal. However, hard to really put that in, squarely in Microsoft's column because, once again, this is a Capcom game that's really, really awesome. They're just getting timed exclusivity on the DLC. So next up, now this was the game changer. This was the big one that I didn't completely see coming, called Smart Glass. Now, a lot of people have said, Xbox Companion, that's not really what this turned out to be. Now, what I see this as being is Microsoft took a look at the Wii U. They said, okay, you've got this tablet controller, it's got a touch screen, you've got some interactivity. Why do we need to give you a new controller when you already have one in your pocket? Okay? Because almost everyone has one of these or something like it already in their pocket. And it really drove home to me because repeatedly Phil Spencer was saying that you already own. He's like, the phone that you already own, the tablet you already own. He drove it home like that. To me, that was like poking at Nintendo. So instead of making this new peripheral that's static, it's hardware, it's expensive, they went the software route. And they're not just trying to sell their Windows devices either. They even said iPhone specifically. It'll be on iPhone. And of course, which means I'm sure it'll be on Android as well. And it allows you all kinds of interactivity with all different kinds of media, not just games. For instance, they showed like with Game of Thrones. You're watching an episode of Game of Thrones, and those unfamiliar with it, it takes place all over the different parts of the Seven Kingdoms. So they were showing a scene with Daenerys, and they showed a map on the smart glass, like I think it was a tablet, showing Quarth, where she was. And then the next scene changed to Jon Snow, and the map zoomed out, moved over to the wall, and zoomed in. So, but it's going to have interactivity with all kinds of different things, with games, with movies, with music, with anything and everything you're doing. It can show inventory screens, it can show mini maps, a whole bunch of interconnectivity with whatever's on your screen, really just dominating the whole space. And they also announced they're finally bringing Internet Explorer to the Xbox 360 because they felt they never wanted to bring it there because they said the controller is not conducive to browsing the web. Most of these web browsers are really slow, and it just doesn't work. And they were showing it with Smart Glass. You're going to have a keyboard. You can actually use it like a mouse pad. You can pinch and zoom and all these things, and really looks like it's going to be the best web browser on a console thus far. So, to me, maybe some people have been lukewarm about this, but I think Smart Glass, that's a game changer. That's a big deal, not only in games, but to the non-gamer. I was talking to my girlfriend who is an absolute non-gamer, and she thought this whole concept center really, really cool. And obviously, Microsoft has been doing well outside the gaming space as well as with the core gamer. So this is a huge, huge thing for the Xbox Smart Glass. All right, next up, they showed Tomb Raider. Now, I'm crazy excited about Tomb Raider. When they showed it last year, I was like, oh my God, it looks like a lot like Uncharted. Once again, I've never been a big Tomb Raider fan, but this looked amazing. Now, once again, this is not an exclusive title for the Xbox 360, but they are going to get some exclusive DLC, so offering yet another reason to, choose their version over the PS3 version or the Wii U version. But once again, looks really cool. They're getting some exclusive DLC. Cannot wait for that game. Next, they talked Kinect. Of course, they're going to talk Kinect. It was sort of the focal point of their last couple shows. And in this case, they were talking about a lot of added functionality for both FIFA and Madden. Of course, Madden is a huge seller all the time. It gets most of its sales on the 360. FIFA, a little more split. Europe is a lot more split between 360 and PS3 than we are here in the States. But adding that Kinect functionality with voice commands and such, it's going to be a big, big deal. So Kinect, look for it once again. As I've said before, I don't think Kinect is truly going to be realized in gaming until next generation. But for this generation, adding that additional, functionality is what it can really do. I love Mass Effect 3 with the voice commands on Kinect, and I think not any game, but the vast majority of games can really benefit from that technology. As far as movement, maybe not until it lets us sit on the couch and do stuff. Once it does that, I think it'll really be a lot more useful for us in our living rooms. So next up, they talked XBLA, Xbox Live Arcade, and all these cool things. Of course, recently, they teamed up with Twisted Pixel, and there's been a few games that have been announced. Now, these are not all Twisted Pixel, I want to be very clear about that, but three big ones were Ascend, New Gods, Loco Cycle, and Matter. Now, that last one is actually from Gore Verbinski. That's right, that's the guy who actually directed Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Apparently getting into the game space, but all three of these little mini trailers they showed looked really cool. And of course, the Summer of Arcade is coming up. Always been a big smash hit for Xbox Live. It's just a great thing because the summer is sort of the drought in new games. And so to have this fresh content in the arcade, all three of these games so far looking pretty cool. Very exciting stuff. Next off, they showed South Park, The Stick of Truth. Now, any South Park fan's got to be pretty excited about this. They're trying to replicate the art style of the show, and of course this was shown off in Game Informer, and we've known about it for a little while. So again, Why are they showing it here? This is a multi-platform game. Well, they're going to get timed DLC and Kinect functionality added to it. So, the friendly banter back and forth between the boys or the not-so-friendly banter, you can actually take a part in that using the Kinect. And, of course, there'll be some timed DLC. In fact, I think they said the first 3 packages of DLC are all going to be timed, and there's going to be some exclusive, at least one piece of exclusive DLC just for the 360. So, and that really tells me that they're putting a lot of faith in this. Usually, licensed games don't do all that well, whether it's from a TV show or a movie or whatnot, but obviously they're putting some eggs in this basket, and they think that South Park Stick of Truth is going to be pretty successful if they're doing this. All right, next up, something else we were expecting, an exclusive title, is Dance Central 3. Of course, this has been sort of the premier dance game for the Xbox 360 Kinect, and truly, as far as sort of core games and like core dancing games, this is the one thing that the Kinect has really shown through with, that it's very, very good at doing fitness games and dance games. And here's some dance, and of course it's what you would expect. It's nothing revolutionary. It's another Dance Central game, but it looks just as cool as the rest of them. And I tell you what, there are basically no other real competitors for the dance genre on the 360 right now for that Kinect functionality. It's just phenomenal. And of course they finished up, now they may have talked a few other things there, but they finished up with Call of Duty Black Ops 2. They do this every year. They finish up with the new Call of Duty because they had that timed exclusivity on DLC. So once again, an Activision title. You can't put a ton of points in their column for this one, but they do give that timed DLC. And far and away there are more sales on the 360 for the Call of Duty games than there is on the PS3. Of course, might be seen on the Wii U this year too, so hard to say. So that's what Microsoft did, okay? I'm going to swallow, try to clear my throat as we keep going. We keep going, all right? So next up, Sony had their presentation. This was Monday night. So they kicked it off hard. They kicked it off right with something we didn't completely know what it was going to be. It was called Beyond. Two Souls. Now, this is Quantic Dream's new project. We knew Quantic Dream was working on something, all right? And they were going to make a big announcement, a big splash at E3, but we didn't know exactly what. And then we find out it's this Beyond Two Souls, about this woman, kind of a ghost whisperer kind of thing, where she's like on either side of the grave, and it's starring Ellen Page. Now, you may have seen her in movies like Juno and Inception. Really great young actress, and they decided to cast her instead of just some sort of random French people like they did for Heavy Rain into this role in Beyond Two Souls, and it looks phenomenal. All the new technology that David Cage has talked about, where they're capturing body and face together at the same time, it looks tremendous, and it's definitely one of these big leaps forward for gaming graphics as a whole. Just cannot wait for that. Huge fan of Heavy Rain, huge fan of Quantic Dream. Cannot wait for this game, exclusive for PS3. Next up was PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Now, this is something we know has been coming for a while. It's basically Sony does Smash Brothers. In fact, there was some fun earlier this week when they put up some teaser trailers and actually put in tags on YouTube for Smash Brothers to maybe pull some traffic over. But, this is one that we're all looking forward to. Multiplayer fun, everybody sit on the couch, play together, probably play online. All kinds of characters from the PlayStation lineup. And in fact, they announced 2 new ones at the press conference. One of them, Nathan Drake, big fan favorite from the Uncharted series. And another one, not exclusive to PlayStation, the Big Daddy from the BioShock franchise, which that's one of my favorite franchises. So I was pretty giddy about that one. So another cool exclusive for PlayStation. Next, they talked about Little Big Planet 2. Now you're like, wait a minute, Bearded Gamer, this game's been out for a while. Well, what they're announcing is what they're calling cross-controller DLC. So there's Little Big Planet 2 for your PS3 and Little Big Planet on your Vita. Well, now they can cross-play. That's the idea. So you can play, one person on their PS3, one person on their Vita, or some combination up to 4 players, playing together in the same game, with different devices, which is, really cool. Now, I'm not sure how huge of a following Little Big Planet really has in the core gamer, so I'm not sure how huge of an announcement that really is, but once again, exclusive PlayStation title right there. Next up was Black Ops Classified. Oh, now this is an exclusive title. I know it's Call of Duty, it's Black Ops, but it's Call of Duty Black Ops Classified, exclusively for the PlayStation Vita. So you have one of the biggest name in video games, period, exclusively going to the Vita. Now, the Vita is struggling greatly right now, having a hard time getting any traction. They did not announce any price drops, though personally I think if they're going to do that, they'll probably wait until Tokyo Game Show to do so. But nevertheless, getting these big exclusive third-party titles could be a big way to help them out in getting there. So that's huge for Call of Duty fans who want to take that experience on the go. Next was another exclusive for the Vita with Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. Now, what's really tripping me out about this one, I think is awesome. It is a female assassin protagonist. Okay, it takes place in New Orleans with, you see right there, the female assassin. It's the first time we've had that in an Assassin's Creed game, and I think it just looks brilliant. And so, once again, that's an exclusive one for the PlayStation Vita, so helping along that one. Oh, but they weren't done with Assassin's Creed right there. They also announced there's going to be this Assassin's Creed 3 PlayStation bundle, and there will be exclusive DLC for Assassin's Creed 3 on PlayStation 3. So far we've been reinforcing PlayStation exclusive, PlayStation exclusive, PlayStation exclusive all the way down, okay? So next one was not this way, okay? Far Cry 3. Now, the reason they talked Far Cry 3 was there's going to be some exclusive DLC for the PS3. I guess I do have to take that back. Assassin's Creed 3, of course, is a multi-platform game, just getting exclusive DLC. But Far Cry 3. Now, I've played some of the other Far Crys. They're a lot of fun. But I think Crytek has had a lot more success in the Crysis space than the Far Cry space. However, it looks like maybe they're taking some of the things they've learned from their experiences with Crysis into this new Far Cry, and it looks just phenomenally better than Far Cry 2. It looks like a big step forward for the franchise. But I haven't had a ton of experience with this particular franchise, so I'm going to stop now before I say things that I don't really know about. So looks cool. We'll see how it goes. Next was something I'm a little unsteady on. It's called Wonderbook. Now, it's this new peripheral that uses the PlayStation Eye and this sort of digital augmented reality book thing. And it's supposed to be really designed for, I think, a younger audience to have these sort of interactive stories using the PlayStation Eye, the PlayStation 3, and this book peripheral. Now, one thing they specifically showed off is called the Book of Spells. And it's actually, it's Harry Potter themed, so you have this Book of Spells, and you use the Move controller like a wand. So you do your flick and swish and flick. Sorry. Anyway, with the Move controller and this Wonder Book, and I worry. It smells faintly of Eye of Judgment to me. I think when you get too many peripherals going at once, it really people don't want to embrace that. I mean, you look at what happened with like Rock Band and Guitar Hero. There was just too many peripherals that people needed to buy to be able to play the game. And there was definitely some pushback, and now that genre has almost been destroyed. So I see this again, I go, there's so many peripherals here. You've got the Eye, you've got the Move, you've got this book thing. Oh, it just seems like it's a bit too much. And you also look at how successful the Kinect has been versus the Move. The Kinect, you buy this one camera thing, and you're done. Versus the Move is, well, you got to have the Eye, and then you got to have the Move controller, and then the nunchuck part. And if you want more people, you got to buy one more of each. And it's just, I think that really hurts when they try to put too many peripherals in your hands at once. So, but we'll see. We'll see exactly how this one goes. Now, next up is kind of a smaller piece of news. The PlayStation Suite, and this is what was developed for putting PlayStation games on mobile devices, has been renamed PlayStation Mobile, and it's going to be appearing on the vast majority of HTC devices. You're going to have PlayStation branded games on HTC smartphones. Of course, all of those are running Android. So, that should be really, really cool, and I'm looking forward to that. If you're an Android user, you get to have PlayStation branded games on your phones very soon. I think that's just a much better route. Instead of making a phone that's specifically designed to play games, everybody has phones. They're not buying them for the games. That's just a side effect. So you just get on what's already out there. People already have HTC devices in their pockets. Get your games on those devices, and I think that's the much, much smarter move. All right, so they finished up with a couple more exclusives. This is crazy. The first one, of course, something that was announced before, God of War Ascension. And it looks cool. It looks like a God of War. Admittedly, I didn't see anything that was like, mind-blowingly different from previous God of War games. There were some new powers, new spells, but once again, that's nothing really new. There were some big set-piece moments, Nothing new. It doesn't mean it's not going to be awesome. I love God of War, but there was nothing that was just, shocking, nothing that amazed me going, oh wow, that is so different from previous games. So I was a little underwhelmed with that particular playthrough. And they finished up with Last of Us. And I've talked about this game. I'm excited for this game. It's sort of like zombie apocalypse meets Cormac McCarthy's The Road. And it didn't disappoint. This was the first time we've seen some gameplay, and it was brutal, and it was beautiful all at once, and I think that's what it needs to be. You have this world that's just been annihilated, and nature is taking it back, but you also have people with this, survival mentality that they're willing to kill you, for the food you might have or the ammunition you might have. And then, of course, there's these crazy infected people with, that you've got to fight that's what's decimated the world to begin with. And I think it looks fantastic coming from Naughty Dog. First time they've done a new game since they've started the Uncharted franchise, and it looks phenomenal. So, all right, that finished up Sony's press conference. Okay, we got one more in this, right? You still here with me? Let's talk about Nintendo. Now, they started off with a little fun video with Miyamoto about Pikmin 3. And this looks, pretty cool. Once again, I'm going to come back to I am not a big Pikmin fan. I have not played much Pikmin, so I really don't have much of an opinion here. But I know it's a good seller. There's a lot of Pikmin fans looking forward to this third Pikmin for the Wii U. So, okay, moving forward into the HD generation with Pikmin, so that's good stuff. Next up, Super Mario Bros. U. Of course, this is a huge, huge announcement. Super Mario Bros. Is the backbone of Nintendo, and to have this in the launch window. Now, Reggie Fils-Aimé was talking later on a lot of these games, so I won't get too deep into it. They weren't completely squared away on whether this was a launch title or a launch window title. But he was talking with Jeff Keighley later on, and he did say all of these games are in the launch window, if not launch titles themselves. So I'm just going to get that out of the way now. So I think this very much shows that Nintendo is learning from the mistakes they made with a 3DS, that they just didn't give it the first-party support, and so the third party backed off until they did the price drop, gave it some first-party games, and got the sales rolling. So this time, not screwing around, giving it some big first-party titles right out of the gate the way they should. So Super Mario Bros. U. Still not a fan of the U, but a fan of the new Super Mario Brothers. Okay, next up they showed off Lego City Stories Undercover. Now this is going to be both a Wii U game and there's going to be a 3DS version as well. I tell you what, I had been thinking that the Lego thing had been sort of played out. It had been sort of old hat. I really enjoyed Star Wars, and they did Batman and Indiana Jones and Lord of the Rings, and I just don't care anymore about the little Legos. They're cute, whatever. This thing looks cool. It looks funny. It looks awesome. It looks very irreverent. This whole thing is like, it's police procedural, which I did kind of have to make the joke of. Of course, you take a good idea, you got to make it into a police procedural. But it works, and it's fun. It's a great all-ages game, and it looks really cool. And they had a nice little thing where they're building something out of green blocks, and it turns into a little warp pipe, and it made the Mario Brothers sound. Everybody cheered. It was really cool. A lot of fun right there. Next up, more Mario with new Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS. Of course, the first new Super Mario Bros. Was a huge success, and this one looks no different. And now, fear not, you won't be throwing turnips at anybody. They're not trying to recreate the old Super Mario Bros. 2, which was technically never supposed to be a Mario game. They're indeed creating a brand new Super Mario Bros. Game. It's just going to be the next one for the 3DS, and it looks awesome. And they showed off all this crazy gold stuff all over the place, and it looks just crazy fun and awesome. It's Mario. Hello, of course, you're going to love it. And it helped pushing that 3DS further and further. The 3DS has been doing really, really well since they did the price drop. They brought out some first-party titles. It's been, many of the top 10 best-selling games in the world have been 3DS titles. And that's how you gauge the success of a console, is its software sales. And it's been right there for several months now. So next up, sticking with the 3DS, they kind of a truncated part on the 3DS, but I'm going to talk about it more, was Paper Mario Sticker Star. I heart Paper Mario, okay? I'm just going to put that right out there. I love Paper Mario. I played it a lot. And this one, they're using these stickers. So these stickers aren't just little collectibles, they're actually your action commands. So you get a little hammer sticker, you use the hammer to smash your enemies. You get a boot sticker, you use that to stomp on enemies. And so it's going to add a new dynamic, plus of course the whole it's 2D because it's paper, but it's 3D because it's 3DS. And it's just neat. I think that's one of the most impressive things they've shown for the 3DS in its entire life cycle thus far. Now, not to be completely done, they talked about Scribblenauts Unlimited. Of course, now this is not a first-party Nintendo title, but this is a big Nintendo exclusive. Scribblenauts Unlimited, now what they're doing with this, it's a Wii U title, but they're also teasing that there might be a 3DS title coming as well. It's actually going to have some online interactivity, so you can make words, you can share these different scribbles or drawings with your friends and interact with one another. So I think that's great. You know, Nintendo has often been accused of sort of not realizing the internet exists, and so to take their games and do some online functionality, yes, must do this if you want to stay competitive in this market. So it's good to see them doing that. All right, next up, something they announced last year, but now we're getting a lot more details on, a 3DS game called Luigi's Mansion. It's now just not called Luigi's Mansion 2, it's called Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. And it's awesome. It got huge cheers last year, it got huge cheers this year. It's been so long since the first Luigi's Mansion came out, one of the most underrated GameCube titles out there. And here it is on the 3DS. And they're playing a lot with light and dark, as you would expect from Luigi's Mansion. But in ways with the touchscreen and the 3D, it looks to be just a solid first-party adventure. Excuse me. This is a long video, right? So next is what is, I guarantee almost, it's going to be a 20 million seller, Wii Fit U. Now, of course, you know they weren't going to just walk away from Wii Fit. They had to keep going with it. And I think that's going to be one of the huge things that's going to pull people over to the new console, because Wii Fit has a lot of fans. They sold something like 43 million units of Wii Fit, okay? It's huge. And here's the trick, and here's why I think it's going to work. It uses the same balance board. That's the exact same thing you've already seen and you have in your house already. It's probably, you know, sitting under your couch or under your coffee table, ready to be pulled out whenever you want to use it. Well, it's the same balance board that's going to now work with the Wii U and Wii Fit U. And they showed off some cool new features as well. You know, you got interactivity with the tablet controller, like they showed. You're standing on the balance board and you're like kind of doing this, and you're aiming a stream of water. Some new physical activities. They showed this chick, she gets a pedometer and syncs up her run that she did earlier in the day with the tablet controller, and it really showed off the gamification, the competitive nature between two people who are exercising. And then, of course, you know, the gal was ahead of the guy, so she's like, you got to do a couple more reps. Well, she changes the channel, and then he's running a workout completely off the tablet. So he sits it down on a table, and he's doing more workouts, you know, lunges and things, just off the tablet and the balance board. So showing off that functionality that they told us about last year, where you could take the game off of the TV and keep going with that. And, you know, it's just, there's a lot of fans of the game, and it looks like this is the next logical and natural evolution of the game, and so it's going to really pull a lot of people there, because they're like, well, I've already got my controllers, I've already got my balance board, I just get this new console which comes with a tablet, and I'm good to go. Just get the new game. So I think it's going to be huge. All right, next up they talked about a game that has a working title called Sing. Now, we've seen plenty of karaoke games, okay? They're all over the place. You got your controllers, and, you know, you've got SingStar, you've got Karaoke Revolution. Well, what makes this one different? Well, first off, there was no peripheral. There was no extra peripheral beyond the tablet. Now, you see in there that the young woman is holding the tablet controller, and it's got the lyrics on it. Well, that tablet also has a microphone, so you don't need a separate microphone. And it seems to be much more performance-based. Instead of we're all staring at the TV and one person singing and trying to be as accurate as possible, she was facing away from the TV, singing to her friends, karaoke style, with those lyrics in front of her, and there were dance moves on the screen. And I don't know. I think it's going to really change that, and it's going to make it much more party friendly, because it, you know, the whole thing with karaoke is you got somebody who's a little tipsy, maybe gets up and starts performing, and with those others, everybody's staring at the TV. So this way, everybody's staring at that one person, which is much more karaoke style. Yeah, it's still a fun, casual party game, but I think it's a nice way of utilizing the new technology. So next up, I swear we're getting close, we're almost done, was a big one with Nintendo Land. Now, Phil Zimay said specifically, this is like the Wii Sports for the Wii U. Now, they weren't super clear as to whether this is the game that's going to be packaged in with the Wii U, so I'm not promising that, but he said this is like the Wii Sports of the Wii U. And it's this whole amusement park thing just filled with tons and tons and tons of mini games. Just huge. He said something, there's going to be like 19 different amusement places in this giant amusement park. And I have to wonder if maybe it's replacing, or they're retiring Mario Party and replacing it with this, sort of fused with Wii Sports, because it seemed to have a lot of those different elements, so the Wii Sports elements as well as the Mario Party elements, and maybe just throwing in a massive game that really, really showcases the technology that the Wii U brings, because it's got the Wii functionality, but then they're adding in all this more, so that it does make sense that they would throw it in and package it with it. But it looks cool. It looks like the kind of game you get your friends over and you would just blow hours and hours on just a ton of different mini games. And who doesn't like mini games, right? All right, last thing they talked about, this wasn't technically in order, but they talked about third-party games. And one thing that they showed a lot of was Batman Arkham City Armored Edition. Now I know, my first reaction is this game is going to be well over a year old before it actually comes to the Wii U. But they're showing it's got all this different content. It's going to be more playability between Batman and Catwoman. With the tablet, you'll have all this added functionality. And it does look really cool. That there's some really neat stuff they're adding, but I still have to wonder how much motivation are people going to have to go spend $60 on a game they've already played. I've already beaten it on 2 systems. Why do I, again? One more time, now with more functionality. And this wasn't just Batman either. They showed like this whole roll of games like Darksiders 2, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, that some of these might be coming out after Wii U, but a lot of these are older, they're existing, or maybe they're coming out like Darksiders in August. So that's several months ahead of the holiday season. And I just wonder how much of a push there's going to be for these titles that have already been out for a while on a new console. So I do have to worry about that. So that wrapped up Nintendo's presentation. So now what it comes down to, what I've been talking about, who won. Now, unfortunately, in the vast majority of sites, it always comes down to, well, I'm a hardcore gamer, so this is who I think won. But there's a lot more people than that out there. There's also non-gamers, like my girlfriend. I love her to death. She's awesome, but she doesn't play games, and that's okay. There's also your more casual gamers, your people with kids, and they need a lot more variety in their gaming. So you can't just say there's one winner. Now, overall, I was a bit unimpressed. I didn't see any of the shock and awe, any of the amazing blow my socks off. Oh, I really never saw that coming. The closest I got to that was Quantic Dream's new game. That I knew they were announcing something, but I didn't know what it would be. So that was really cool to see that one. But overall, for the core gamer, who won? Well, for me, that's Sony. I mean, their list of exclusive titles, core titles, was just huge. All right? Now, for the casual gamer, I got to go with Nintendo on this one. I really do, because you look at the Wii U and what it's going to do for that casual market, for the people who love to dance, they love to exercise, they love mini games, for just hitting that entire family of gamers. Nintendo has always done that really well, and they're doing it really well again. And for everybody else, for the non-gamers, smart glass is a game changer, and Microsoft wins on that front. Because they become sort of the total entertainment package already, and I think smart glass is just going to extend that further and further and further. And are we disappointed that we don't see as many exclusive titles from the Xbox 360? Sure, but admittedly they don't need as many. The reason we see so many exclusive titles on the PS3 is because they're trying to pull the gamers over. They're trying to get them because they're still lagging behind in third place as far as total sales of their consoles. They're just not there. They can't beat the 360. They can't catch up to the Wii. So it's lots of first-party titles, lots of, let's give people reasons to come and buy our console. 360 says, you know what? We've got the games. We've got almost all the same games. We've got a few exclusive games, but man, look at what we can do for the non-gamer. Look at Kinect. Look at what it does for Control. Look at Smart Glass. Look at what it does there. And, as long as they don't neglect the core gamer, I'm okay with this. But of course, I also own all the systems. So who wins overall? Who wins the whole shebang? I've got to go with Microsoft on this one. I come back to Smart Glass again. I know I talked about it a lot, but I think we're just starting to see what that does. See, hardware is static. Yeah, you can do some firmware upgrades and make it a little better over time, but software is so much better. Software is fluid. Software you can upgrade like crazy. And I know Microsoft has always sort of been about, they see something cool and they say, let's not mimic it. No, let's do it better. So they saw motion control on the Wii and they did Kinect. They did it better. Motion control specifically. No, that doesn't necessarily translate to just fine control, but you still have a controller for that. And then I see what the Wii U is doing with its tablet controller. And granted, yes, it's got buttons and it's got triggers and it's got all those classic control things. But then I go over the smart glass and it's like, well, you already have a tablet. You already have a smartphone. Let's just do this with software. And that way they can make such bigger changes to their software. They can update it. They can bring us new features constantly. I think that's just a much bigger deal, not only for people just watching movies and listening to music, but also people who are playing games. They can give us a lot of that same functionality that you see on that Wii U tablet on your existing device. And that's just a huge deal. Mix that with some spectacular showings from the few first-party titles that they did have, the exclusive titles, and some great time DLC and exclusive DLC, and it's just, I think they had the best in-show out of the presentations this year. All right, well, that does it for that extra huge, extra long, extra awesome E3 special edition of the Bearded Gamer Show. All right, and I'm heading to Anaheim this coming weekend for the Major League Gaming Spring Championships, so no new episodes until next week. But enjoy this extra huge one, and we'll see you until next time.